father, my grandfather, my dad, and myself have been the ultimate super fans of the Bears. The Bears. And if you go get Deshaun Watson, I guarantee that they will be back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Get Ditka, get the cigars. We're having a parade. Dye the river orange. The Bears are going to the Super Bowl because we're going to have the best quarterback to ever play for the Bears.
Oh, that's magnificent. That's just magnificent. That is a tour de force. Joliet,
and just
right?
to let you know, I just want to let you know. Yeah. Hold on one second, Greeny. Just to let you know, I just recovered from my 4th heart attack. I got my blood work back. It's a little ragu. It's a little deep dish, and it's a little beef jus, au jus, the beef au jus, and a little hot pepper. But it came back. I'm recovering well.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Magnificent. Magnificently well done. Candidly, we have 43 minutes left in the show. I just want you to do that. I think I just want 43 minutes of that. RC, how do we? Does it make sense to ask a serious football question? And that was magnificent. Does it make sense? Should the Bears be willing to give up absolutely everything they can to get Deshaun?
Now, if you're the Bears as an organization, maybe you don't necessarily want to do that. But if you're Brian Pace, if you are Matt Nagy, hell yeah, you do. I love what Lou said. You know what Lou said? Lou said, if I'm the GM of the Bears right now, if I'm the head coach of the Bears right now, the next head coach be danged. I don't care about him. The rest of the years, I don't care about them neither. I need to win now. I need to make a statement this year. And that statement is Deshaun Watson. That statement is saying, you know what, we believe we have a championship level defense, and we have for the last 2 or 3 years, and we wasted them because we didn't draft this dude in the first place. You know I like to talk about Quantum Leap. It was one of my favorite shows, and we know what Sam Beckett went back to the past to do. Sam Beckett would go back to the past to put right what once went wrong. That was in the lead. They have an opportunity to put right what they once did wrong, and that's getting Deshaun Watson. I would sell the farm for him. The ragu, the deep dish pasta, the 4 heart attacks, all of it will be worth it if they get Deshaun Watson this trip.
I love it. The deep dish is pizza, but we understand the point. I lived there for 11 years. Graziano, let me come to you on this. I know I have a question. Oh, yes. You guys are confusing me with all of this Chicago accent. Graziano.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me from the Bears standpoint. Does it make sense from the Texans standpoint? We're looking at teams like the Jets and the Dolphins, just to name 2, who have all these extra draft picks that they could be trading away. Does the Bears as a trade partner make sense to you if you're Houston and you resign yourself to trading him away?
They would have to get a little more creative because you're right. They're not going to be able to compete with a team that can offer the number 2 pick, the number 3 pick, because they don't have that pick. But could you offer them a player or 2 that appeals to them, that that could help build around with some of the later draft picks if you can't use one to get the elite quarterback near the top of the draft? So look, if and when Houston decides to return people's calls on this, the message is going to be, give us what you got. Give us your best offer. Blow us away, because this is something that is never available, right? A 25-year-old quarterback in his prime, just coming off one of the great years we've seen from the quarterback position, which is what Deshaun Watson just had, if anybody really dug into the numbers. So, yeah, I think if you're the Bears, you'd have to get creative probably with a package that involves players. But I'm with Lewis. I believe they should and would.
All right, that was extraordinarily well done. Ninko, I can't begin to tell you how much we all enjoyed that. Meanwhile, we take a very short break. Coming back with much more of Ninko Superfan Act. So, Ninko, as I come to you, you expressed earlier today, a lot of us are calling it now sort of Super Bowl or bust for the Colts in the near term. You're not that bullish on them at all this coming year. Why not?
Well, I just think that they're a team, they're not better with Carson Wentz. I think they were a better team with Rivers at the helm. And you bring in Wentz coming off a bad year, a down year. Frank Wright stood on the table and said, I want to go get this quarterback. I know what he can do. Well, he's going to be under the microscope for making that trade as well. If Wentz comes onto this team and they don't have success and they don't make the playoffs or they don't win that division, it's going to fall back on Frank Reich, and it's going to come down to his decision to go out there and get Carson Wentz. And I get it. Carson Wentz helped Frank Reich get his position. So Frank Reich feels, I can go get Carson Wentz, get him here on the Colts, get us back to where we need to be And I just don't think they're a better team with Wentz. And there's other things here that need to be addressed as well with both rosters. I think we're in kind of a hyper quarterback mode right now of all talking about quarterbacks, but there's other positions of need too that need to be addressed.
Okay, that's fair. Graziano, let me come back to you, though. As you talk to people around the league, there are two elements of this, it feels to me, with Wentz. One of them is his play. You talked about that. He just didn't play well. The other is just sort of the way he handled it. And it feels to me, and you talk to a lot more people than I do, it feels to me like there is like a lack of respect for the way he managed everything that went wrong last year. What do you hear from people around the sport when you ask them questions about Wentz?
Well, I think there's going to be he's going to have to sell himself a little bit to his new team because of the negative stuff they've heard. But, to Rob's point, that's on Reich as well, right? If you're Frank Reich and you believe in this guy, part of your job is to sell the move in the locker room and to explain why. Now, the Colts believe, and I believe, having been around them a little bit, that Reich can do that because, he really has that locker room. Like, if you ever been to their facility, it's just littered with all the inspirational or introspective Frank Reich quotes that he throws around all the time. He picks one for every week and hammers that message home. And when you talk to players that week, they just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. So they're all in on Frank Reich in Indianapolis. And they have strong leaders in the locker room, like Darius Leonard, like Quentin Nelson. So if Reich can connect with those guys and deliver through those guys the message, hey, this is what's good about this guy. Forget what you've heard. I know him. And I know him back from before all the bad stuff happened. That's going to be a big part of this as well.
Go ahead, RC.
No, Dan made an excellent point about the leaders in that locker room. Darius Leonard put out a tweet, and it basically said, look, I don't care who you are. If you come to the Indianapolis Colts, you are coming here as one of the guys. You are a player. And if you're not dead set on making this team better above individuality, we don't want you here. And I think that tone has been set by who I believe is the leader on the team. And Carson Wentz has to go in there with humility. He has to understand that, I'm here because I didn't play well. I'm also here because I wanted out, because I handled it in a way that said, I'm not accepting my fate here in Philadelphia. Now it's time to make changes. Not only changes to my play, but changes on the way that I relate to my teammates. Changes on the ways that I affect the locker room. And here's his fresh start with a guy that's going to empower him, but also is going to support him and try to be the bridge between the new locker room and Carson Wentz. This is his chance. This has to happen immediately as far as him becoming a leader, but he has to play well also. And if those things happen, if Frank Reich is right, I don't agree with Finko. If Frank Reich is right about Carson Wentz, this team becomes a contender because I felt like they were with Phillip Rivers last year.
Yeah, and look, they were one drive away, maybe a couple of questionable decisions away from beating Buffalo in the first round of the playoffs this year, and so we will see. Nanko, give me where it winds up. What the Colts this year with Carson Wentz as their quarterback? Where does their season end?
Look, they're not going to be the top 5 team in the AFC. You look back on last year, yeah, they were close, but you think on what we saw with Wentz with the Eagles. We all were down on Wentz anyway last year. You saw his performance, the worst performance he's had of his career. So I don't get how when he goes to the Colts, now we automatically assume they're a Super Bowl team. It's just hard for me to fathom that his performance is going to increase that much to take them to a Super Bowl. So they're probably 6 or 7. They're behind the Titans still in my eyes.
Well, we will see. A little later in this program, I'm glad you phrased it that way. Ryan Clark is going to give us his top 5 teams. We will see if he puts the Colts among them. Meanwhile, we're just getting this hour rolling here. Coming up, another quarterback traded, but Deshaun Watson is still waiting. Could he get his second chance in the second city? We're headed there for the answer, plus questions facing Big Ben on his future. We will ask our Steeler legend what happens next in Pittsburgh. That's on the way. Get up on ESPN.